Hey everybody, welcome to December's edition of the Town Hall. It's going to be our last one for 2025. It feels like this year just started and it's already over. But we've got a lot done this year. I was thinking about doing a year in review, but I'll probably do that for January. But today's really going to be a big focus on a live walkthrough of the upcoming update 224 that's currently in testing. So we're gonna touch through that. Just again, getting a live view of everything, and then we'll talk about just some updates with the phase rollout of CMMC, and then as always, Q&A is welcome as we go through anything regarding NeQter or CMMC or any questions that any of you may have. So when it comes to the update, let's take a look. We're mostly going to be taking a look at the updated compliance area of the tool, and we added some features or some things that people asked about. That's why one of the reasons this update's stretched a little bit is because as you're building something and you add something, you go, well, what if we add this, or what if we make this a bit better? So I'll talk about what we had planned on, and then some nice additions that we added with just some feedback, talking to clients like yourselves. So talking about the updated compliance area. So if we go and just, for example, go into this level 2 CMMC. So this is what everyone's used to seeing, and we've kept this area very much the same. But if you take a look on the left side of my screen here under system, we have a few new areas, namely identification, environment, and rapid entry. So I'll walk through these different areas, and we'll talk about some enhancements, some adds that we've had on the requirement side. So, namely, if we go into identification here, we've added these two front sections to the system security plan. So I'll scroll down just to show everything that's included here, but we'll paste through each one. So, for starters, system details, going in and, of course, like we had before, having a system name. We also added system categorization. If you want to detail, the impact for confidentiality, or, just whatever security classification makes sense for this particular system that this SSP is going to be about. We added system unique identifier. So again, if you're a larger org and you're dealing with multiple different systems, being able to identify them is key. So we added that little tag in there. Then having general description and purpose of a system. This is something that we had before, but structured here. So if you want to come in and modify and edit this, you're able to do so. Organization and users is going to allow us to upload and add a logo. We didn't have that before. Easy lift, but something new that's been added. So if we want to edit this org, changing the logo and the org name and the address, we can do that. Now this is going to pull automatically from the settings area. If you've gone and added those fields in there. But obviously, if you need to create a different SSP for a different org, you can just change those settings right here. Additionally, we can also add, I see that there's a question. Let's see, just one point. Walter talking about viewing the shared screen. You should be able to edit that within your display viewer on your end. You can make things larger or smaller on your end to see my screen effectively. Um, so moving on with the screen share here, um, we're able to add multiple different stakeholders. So if you want to add and detail different stakeholders, different titles, different personnel, you can list those and add those in here. So if I wanted to add multiple people and their responsibility and their title, I can add that stakeholder and that will get added to this table list right here. Additionally, we can also define different types of end users or privileged user accounts or roles that might be within an organization. So we can, again, come over here, add a user role. And so we can add the user role. We can determine if it's an internal or external role. We can list out the different privileges that that user has to the system. So say that there we have a role, we have a consultant, they're external, and they just have read-only privileges to the system. And then we can go and describe the different functions that that consultant is performing. Maybe they're just doing documentation. So I know I'm being brief here, but just as an example, and say we only have one. So we're going to say, um, maybe RP consultant or CMMC consultant, and we'll just add that role. So we can add that and list it out here. Additionally, kind of moving on down the page, data summary, and then different types of data that we might be handling. So what types of CUI is within the system? Um, what is the source? What are some additional notes or projects that we want to talk about that the CUI is sourced from? Banner marking, safeguarding and or dissemination authority, category, organizational. So if we're dealing with different types of maybe CTI or cover defense information or energy, we can list those all out here if they're housed within the system, this L2 system that we're building, and list those all out here accordingly. Additionally, so that's this first section that we can build out and add notes and add descriptions. The next system section, so this one's pretty rigid with its different definitions. The environment section that we click up on the left nav here, system environment. So we have a couple that we've added as a default, and you can actually remove them if you wanted to. This entire section is modular. So say we have 2.1 system topology. That's a kind of a default that we have. System facility is a default. Hardware inventory and software inventory are all defaults that we have that you can modify and or delete as you see fit. So with this modular section, we can add in a name of the section, and then obviously come in here and fill out the description that we want, and then attach and add any artifacts that we want. Now, much like the other sections that we have, if we upload and attach an artifact, you can select them from ones that we've already uploaded. You can also do a list view, or you can do the thumbnail view like we have. So if we start adding a bunch, so say I want to, attach something new. Let me just make sure. I'll just add an image. So say we want to upload and attach, something new. We'll just add something. And as we start to add them, they'll be evenly spaced. They'll be listed out. And then we can, of course, go and add a description. We can modify the artifact. So one of the things we also added is, so if I go and so this one was just an example that I downloaded from somewhere, and it has a stupid, ugly name. Now, you're going to want to change that name, and that's one of the functions that we added to the artifacts where I can go and I can now rename this system topology and add a description. And now that will show up here. Once I add that. So an additional thing that we changed as well is rather than deleting an artifact, detaching makes more sense, because you might say, oh, I uploaded this, or I attached this to this control or this area. I don't want that there. Well, clicking on a trash icon would delete the artifact and then remove the artifact from the system. So if it's attached to 20 controls, well, that's not helpful. Because you might not see that, you might not know that. So we just have it as a detach function. So if I detach this, it's still going to be in the artifacts area, it's still going to be attached to all the other areas that it's attached to. So for me to go and effectively remove an artifact from the system, I would go into the artifacts area. So we'll go back there in just a second. But going and, again, each one we can go in, add, modify the description or the title of the section as I see fit. But then I can, if there's a bunch of things I want to add in the kind of the preamble here to the document in this environment section, I can add new sections and I can shift them and move them to where, I want them to be. And it's going to dynamically update the section number. So, 2.2, I kick it down, it goes to 2.3, this new section that I've added. So this area, this environment area is entirely modular. It's up to you to add or remove sections, because maybe perhaps you talk to a C3PAO, they say, well, we expect to see this area in your SSP. Okay, well, great. Add that section, move it to where it makes sense, and add the required information. So those are, these first two sections that we've added in here. And these will, of course, translate and show up in the SSP export. So now we have nice company logo here, the name of the system. This is a draft, the system identifier, and now we have system identification and system environment. These first two sections, and then of course section 3.3, which is all of the controls, much like before. So if we go and we see everything listed out here, and then it will reference any attached artifacts and list them underneath each area. And then, much like before, they're attached at the very bottom. They can be downloaded off the subsequent artifacts. And then section 3.3, just like we had before. If I don't want those sections to be included, I can include or omit the different sections. So if I just want a list of the requirements, I can do that. And we can export in CSV, Excel, or of course the NeQter template, or if we've committed revisions, export those revisions as they exist in the system. So that is the first two sections that we've added. Again, we've had feedback, we've modified some things, added some things as people have requested. So now the other major change that we've had is the rapid entry section, as well as modifying the requirements area for bulk editing. So I'll show the rapid entry section, and then we'll dip back into requirements to show the bulk editing. So with rapid entry, it's just going to be a large, continuously generated area to modify and list and filter the controls that you're editing. So I have all 320 all listed out right here, and it has each domain. So if we wanted to go and look at section 311, well, we can just click on this down arrow, and it will expand out all of the different subcontrols, all of the different assessment objectives. Because it lists everything out right here, I can go and modify multiple ones at the same time, and it's going to do, a few things for me. So if I go and I modify this, it's not going to change it immediately. It's going to have a pending save, and then I can review the changes. Now I can just go and say, this is good. I love this. Save the changes. But if I go and I, modify more and, I add a description now, maybe I add a due date, maybe I change the owner, and then I want to go and also modify this control. Well, all these changes are now pending. 5 changes pending save. So if I go and review these changes, it's going to list them all out right here. And maybe I misclicked on something. Maybe I don't want to change this due date. So I can bin it. I can just say remove this change from the queue. I can of course go, I don't like any of these changes and clear the queue. Or I can say, you know what, these look good. I like these. Let me accept these. Save changes. So now this is going to be saved and those are going to have updated. So now, um, you know, uh, everything's going to be changed as such. Of course, the change log will also be updated with those changes. And additionally, so I've expanded out these controls. If I look up at the top right, it's going to be a few things for me. It's going to list out the requirements or the different AOs within access control. There's 70. It's going to summarize for me what's been implemented, what's partially implemented, what's an alternate implementation, what's not implemented, and what's planned. It's also going to tell me if I've gained any SPRS points. So right now, there's 54 total points in access control, and I have a big goose egg. I have 0. It's also going to summarize for me any tasks that have been completed or in progress or to do. And if I go and I click on any of these blue buttons, it's going to do a split screen for me since I have expanded 311. So it's going to have the summary of 311, the discussion, the further discussion, the assessment areas, the external references, and the NeQter guidance. And if I go and I click on tasks or artifacts or comments, it's going to summarize and list out all of them right here, adjacent to where they show up on the left. So on the left is the things that we're familiar with, the implementation status, due date, owner, review status in the description area. And then on the right, we have the summary view of the other things. So if we wanted to maybe bulk attach something, or maybe I wanted to attach something that already exists. So we're just going to do the NeQter logo. We'll attach it. And for these different ones, so I can see that, I can add that. If I wanted to add comments, I can also add comments here as well. So so that's what this is doing for me with this kind of the split view. So just kind of a different method of going and interacting with the controls as opposed to before, which is where we just had the regular requirements. So I can now, if I go into the regular requirements view, I can do the same thing. I can go and I can select multiple controls and I can modify. And it will give me this view here where I can change the review status, I can change the implementation status, I can change the owner, or I can change the due date. Now I can filter out the controls in here so I can get a better idea of perhaps what I want to modify or bulk edit. But we also added that into the rapid entry section. So if I go back, rapid entry, and I go to the bottom right, all the way down here, there's going to be 2 icons for me. There's going to be a pencil and there's going to be a filter icon. So if I click on the pencil, I can select, again, multiple AOs for me to edit. So I select them on here and then I can change them to, the areas I just looked at. review, implementation status, owner, or due date. And then I can queue the changes. So I can decide, you know what, I'm going to queue and determine if I want these changes to be saved, or I review them. I say, actually, I inadvertently included a control. I don't want to change that one. I'll change these three. Additionally, if we click on, so we're going to remove those changes. If I click on the pencil, this was something that got added in because people asked for it. If I click on the pencil, or I'm sorry, if I click on this filter, so I can do the things like I had before, select framework family, um, has a response, has a certain status. I can filter down these controls. So if I hit apply, we're just going to be seeing access control and nothing else. We have the 22 controls of access control. If I go and now I can either search the requirements or I can search responses. This was something that a lot of people asked for. So if I search the requirements, this is going to be something like, I'm like, what is that control that deals with external connections? Um, Helps if we spell correctly. So external connections, I hit apply. Um, the framework family access control was selected. So, or let me see here. Yeah, so connections. Um, so anything dealing with connections, external. That's what it is. External systems is what I was thinking about. So if I wanted to know, okay, external systems, what are we dealing with here? Hit apply. Oh, okay, we're in 3120. That's what we're talking about. So if I'm trying to think of a control, or maybe one that everyone loves to hate or hates to love, multi-factor. So if I just start to type in multi, okay, well, multi-factor is listed out here, section 353. But of course, controls is one thing. We might want to search. Say we have Cisco Meraki, and we're trading out for Palo Alto, perhaps. Well, now I have to go and find every instance that I was using the term Cisco Meraki in my SSP, and I need to change it out for Palo Alto. Well, now I can search my responses and any controls that have, so Cisco Meraki is within these controls. Now I know I have to go in here and go, all right, this now has to be changed to Palo Alto. Any instances that or maybe I was using, LastPass and I changed to Keeper or Bitwarden, and I need to go and change that out. So if I need to go in and find the different instances of a certain term, or maybe you had it where you hard coded in a person's name when it should have been a role, and then you need to change that person out and put in a role. Just different examples of that. So I'm not going to do that for each one here, but say I go, all right, let me review the changes. Okay, I added these, I swapped these out, I added Palo Alto now. Great, I approve that, I save that. And so that is why this new search function is super helpful for me. I'm trying to think of what else is something that we've changed or something that we've modified. But yeah, so that is this new kind of rapid entry. We can go in, we can change multiple things at the same time. We can find or search for things. That is what this new section is helping with. So, in a nutshell, that's what we're talking about with this new um improved compliance section. So we have the identification area and the environment areas added. We have the ability to bulk edit. We have the ability to search controls in the rapid entry section. I'm unsure. I don't believe that search function is in. So yeah, because this viewer here is really just for controls, and yeah. And then additionally, if I go into artifacts, all the artifacts are listed out here. If I need to go and modify, edit an artifact, I can change the name of it. I can obviously, like we had before, change what it's attached to. And the sections that we have where it says, environment or identification, it will have the appropriate, section 1.1 or 2.1 of where it's attached to. If I click on here, it will navigate me to that area so I can look at it. So if I need to just make changes, office floor plan, save, now I can, rename that the artifact, or this one here. This one was, network diagram. I can rename them. And if I want to upload or attach, I can do that here. We had that before. If I want to export this list, we modified what the list is going to include. So if I go and I look at this export, this is what we look like. We got the name, the description, where it's attached, data uploaded. So I can see all of those listed out, see what they're quickly attached to. And then, of course, I can just download the subsequent artifacts if I want to, or of course, they get versioned under the revision, so I can download a versioned aspect of that artifact. If I want to go and replace an artifact, that is also something that we added in. So if I have a floor plan attached to the environment section and I have a new floor plan, well, I just come over here and I replace it over it itself. So again, this was something that people had issues with, where say you had, I don't know, a network diagram attached to 10 controls. Well, I don't want to have to remove it and have to re-upload it to 10 controls. So network diagram, I can replace it, grab a new document, and it will replace it over all of the controls where it was previously attached. So that is an added enhancement as well. Additionally, we added in a couple areas for the POAM export, or the tasks export, that had been requested. So this is what the format looks like for tasks. So it will list out the control, the task, the details, who it's who it's assigned to, all of those types of things, or the owner of the task. So yeah, so that is, in a nutshell, the kind of the facelift of this entire section of the tool. So that's what we've been working on. We've been shoehorning in additional requests, like the search feature, the artifact overwrite or replace function. So a lot of good stuff with this section here. So if anyone has any questions, throw them in the chat, or if you have any comments. But otherwise, I will go ahead and show just the added functionality to the users area that we have, which includes having a temporary password and stuff like that. So we'll go into settings for this next area of the walkthrough, users. And so when I create a user now, it's going to create the user, and it will send an email to that user with the temporary password. It will also flash the temp password on the screen here. So if I wanted to add, so I'll just remove this user, and I'll also reset password. It will reset and send the user a new temp pass. When they go and they log into NeQter, it's going to prompt them to make a new password. And the new password is going to be based upon whatever password settings that you've set up right here. So the different items are going to include password expiration. So enable password expiration. So I say, okay, well, passwords expire every 90 days. Um, or I can put whatever day count I want in here. Say once a year, password expires. Great. Next area, password complexity requirements. Minimum number of characters, determine if it requires a special character, lowercase letter, uppercase, and a number. I can make this whatever I want. You can frustrate your users, make it 16. I can make it 12. We can also have a password reuse policy where it will compare the passwords, the hashes, and ensure that somebody isn't reusing a password. So if I do that, I can set the number of generations of passwords right here. So say set it to 5. So that's what it's basing when someone has to make a new password. So if I go, I'm not going to save that actually. If I go and I delete this user, Patrick Antonio, delete. So I'm just going to recreate that user. I'm going to go and say, all right, here's me, here's my last name, here's my email. And we'll say read write access to the compliance tool, add user. Well, here's the temp pass. I can save it. It's also set an email to the user. The user will be required to change their password on next login. I go to my email. I pull up right here. So Sean Houston's the email that's set up with this example. So I can I get that email. When I use my password, I can go and I can log in now. So that is what we have for this this new section of the user management and password management. So that is the major changes that we've had. Just want to check my slides, make sure I touched upon everything. Yeah, that's everything. The rapid entry is a major section. We weren't planning on adding that in the compliance tool. It just kind of naturally came upon us when we were dealing with stuff. We said this is a great section or area to add. Yeah, so any comments, any questions are welcome, but that's what we're looking at. We're in testing now. We should be, I was told the, the 9th next week is when our targeted releases for this update. So, yeah, we'll be in your hands shortly. So just going back, looking at questions, looking at chat, see if there's any comments in there. Only other things I had to talk about outside of NeQter is, of course, any updates to CMMC. So, of course, November 10th, phase 1 went live. Things were a little shaky in terms of people expecting, and contracts, of course, the government was shut down. Great timing. So government's reopened, contract officers are starting to insert the requirements with phase 1 and self-certifying or self-certed requirements for CMMC. Something that we've been seeing though is a couple like Army Corps of Engineers and some others requiring or asking about the a CMMC certification for L2. So again, I had mentioned there was discretion, and that discretion is already being exercised. We saw a couple contracts for January stating you got to have an L2 cert. So DoD estimated, this was a post by Jacob Horna I had taken a look at. They had estimated 500 organizations getting L2 certed within the first rollout, the first year. End of November, we're already at 550 certifications issued. Now, some of those were recerts for C3PAOs and what have you, but so there's more certs than companies who are individually certed, but we're looking at hundreds of companies already who have L2 certs in hand. Um, there has been an increase, slowly and surely every month. Um, last time I checked, last month there was 83 C3PAOs. Now there's 90. There's a backlog because of the government shutdown, so we should see well over 100 by, um, or we should be over 100 by the end of the year. So, yeah, things are. I don't know what people expected. With the phased rollout, it it will be phased, but of course, people are going to put their thumb on the scale and they're going to require L2 certs sooner than anticipated, or maybe the DoD estimated, just with um, the aggressive nature that they want to insert into contracts, certain contract vehicles or certain programs want to insert it sooner rather than later. So, nothing really new in CMMC land. Obviously, went live November 10th, but we have seen aggressive terminology, or of course the DoD being aggressive in inserting the requirements sooner into contracts than expected. Um, but yeah, and just talking to different C3PAOs, I know that a lot of companies are getting turned away. They think they're ready. There's like, hey, let's do this, and the C3PAO kind of having that preliminary meeting, or their own vetting process. People not getting past that first kind of introductory call, or send us your documents, send us your SSP, giving a glance at it and saying, "Nope, we're not proceeding, we're not moving forward." We've seen a lot of that with different companies being overconfident, or you know wanting to get the cert, but having a lot of work still to do in their preparation of L2. So I'm sure nothing new for a lot of people on the call today, but just wanted to vocalize that, let that be known. So, yeah, I realize I've been talking for, it doesn't feel like 40 minutes. Jeez. Uh, but I know that was a thorough review of the new update, um, putting the finishing touches, making sure there's obviously no issues or bugs. Everything's working smoothly upon release, and we're looking at next Tuesday for said release. So, yeah. Corey, has there been any questions that you've been able to see? No, it's kind of been radio radio silence. Um, but yeah, obviously, if anyone has any questions as that new update comes out, support will be available. Again, just a plug where I have the biweekly kind of training demos that have kind of turned more into, and we're going to explore this more. They've been turning more into a kind of a um, customers coming on the call, and feedback session, or different scenarios being played through, or different recommendations from it's kind of a roundtable of sorts. It's kind of turned into those bi-weeklies. So I will post in the chat here just to sign up. You have to sign up for each one if you want to join the session. I don't have it where it automatically adds people to said sessions, because I'm sure not everyone wants to show up bi-weekly. However, the wonderful Jeff in the chat, who wishes me a Merry Christmas, he's been showing up every 2 weeks, and we've had a lot of good conversations in there. So that is happening as we go into January, as we go into next year. The January webinar, I'm going to do more of a year in review, take some time, kind of see what's transpired the past 12 months, and then give an outlook for the next 12 months. This one, I wanted to focus in on, basically the updates, fully polished. Wanted to show everyone all of the features that we've added, because we've definitely added some things over the past couple of months to the update that we didn't originally anticipate. And then as we go into next year, we're really putting our thinking caps on over at NeQter, seeing how we can add. One of the things we want to do is add complementary services surrounding NeQter, seeing what that looks like. We've been doing that with some local companies, just to test it out, make sure that we're on to something good. We're not looking to add, unnecessary time and effort on our clients without added value. So we're exploring what do services look like. How can we, because we're in a good spot with NeQter. Thanks to all of you and your continued support. We are looking at what strategic moves can we make? How can we grow our team? How can we grow our capability? So 2026 is going to be a really fun year, I think, um, with what we have coming up. And just trying to think as well. Also, shout out to anyone I saw at Top Shops. I didn't include a slide for that, but that was a really fun show down in Charlotte. Never been in the NASCAR Hall of Fame before. Definitely want to see if I can make that an annual show, because that was a Charlotte, never been. Fantastic city, great food scene. The Hall of Fame, NASCAR Hall of Fame. I'm not a big NASCAR guy, but it's so cool. Growing up, everyone's either a Dale Earnhardt or Jeff Gordon fan, so that was cool. And Jeff's just, do you want to share your education YouTube link? Absolutely. We'll share the YouTube link again, just for anyone to know. So these get recorded and put up on our YouTube. The bi-weekly, oh, thanks, Corey. The bi-weekly training group demos, because it's a small number of people joining and it's more intimate, those recordings are hosted through Livestorm. If you register for the session, you're typically able to, once you attend the session, you can go back and re-review those those recordings, but you have to have had access to the session to get those recordings specifically. But yeah, let's see. Question here. Bu-bu-bum. So I'll just Walter talking about. Yeah, sorry about that, Walter. I haven't seen that before with the whole resizing and etc. Um, with Livestorm, haven't seen issues with that before, but glad you were able to access it. And if you want to dip back, Corey on the call here, he handles all that. He uploads. He's been handling our marketing for the past few months. It's been a great addition to the team. It's been doing some fun stuff with video. So we're going to see how we can leverage that more as well as we go into next year. But hopefully the new update is, everyone's looking forward to it. But otherwise, I've been yammering on this whole call, and just want to end on, happy holidays to everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, as we finish out the year. It's really funny. A lot of people wind down for the end of the year, but usually over at NeQter, next next 3 weeks is usually a pressure cooker. It's usually just a thunderdome of everyone trying to get things done for the end of the year. So it's usually our busiest season, and then last week to end the year with Christmas is going to be really fun. Always is. We always have a nice holiday party. This year we're going out. Corey actually booked everything. We're going to a nice kind of uh, bowling alley with great food, bringing all the families. So hopefully everyone can enjoy that on your end as well with your teams. And again, shout out to everyone. Appreciate you all. Thanks for taking the time today to walk through this. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat, but don't want to take up too much more of anyone's time. And we'll look to close out another year at NeQter Labs. So thanks everyone for your time. Again, this is recorded and will be put up on YouTube. And have a great, safe, wonderful holiday season. And we will catch you top of January of 2026. Thanks, everybody.